Ladies and gentlemen, I've got some breaking news. I've got a new headphone. It's the same as the old one, just wireless. This album is a trip! Marina sings like a goddess, and the production is amazing. It feels so sparkly and vivid, great bass lines. The more upbeat tracks feel so refreshing that it makes me feel like I'm in a toothpaste commercial. And in these lower tracks, the vocals are ultra highlighted. It really makes the lyrics get more easily stuck in your head, and it adds strength to the meaning layer. And talking about them, they are very intense here, especially in songs such as New America, Man's World, and Purge the Poison. But with all of that in mind, why don't I like this project more? I mean, I do really like it, but with all the descriptions I gave, it feels like I should at least give this project a 95% superb. But nope, there's something that is blocking me from totally digging his record, and I can't really tell exactly what is it. I honestly hope this changes in the months to come. I do enjoy this album quite a lot, and it's in my view one of the best pop albums of the year. I believe this will be fixed soon though. Anyway, positive highlights going down the screen followed by the negatives. And my score to this album is a good old 87% superb. At various points, this record can be really amazing. The production is well handled, the instrumentals match really well with the introspective lyrics, yet I haven't totally clicked with it. Yes, I get why people like this so much, but personally, I've got a few issues with it. The two first tracks are the definition of stellar, but nothing that comes after gets truly close at giving me that euphoria again, even if the other positive highlights at least do a nice job trying. And I do appreciate how in almost every song, we do have a usually instrumental moment that really gets my ears in a good way. I'm just sad by how often these moments are the only part of sad songs that really get me going. And based on what I heard, I can tell Wolf Alice has a lot of talent to make fantastic things. I just think they haven't fully explored their potential yet. Well, on screen you can see the negative highlights now, and the score I gave to this record is 74% superb. This album is one of those that even though I liked it, I hardly see myself returning to it. Does that mean it's a... Of course not, I just said I liked it, what the hell is wrong with you? But I feel like there's just not enough here to keep me hooked to a very intense extent. I'm pretty sure that if I do return to it, I will have a great time, just like I did in the lists I did for this review. But at the same time, I could just go listen to another album. However, I'm talking about myself, of course. I've seen some people really loving this, and I totally understand why. It may not be something that blows my mind, but it can blow yours. So give it a shot regardless of what I say. I recommend especially the positive highlights, not so much the negative one. And for the score, I give a 79% superb for this one. When I was like midway through this record, I thought it was going to become my new favorite King Gizzard album, but by the end, I was pretty sure it wasn't. The main reason for that is simply because this album has a massively strong beginning, and some amazing quality psychedelic pop stuff. This carries on well until the track 6. After that, I was starting to feel tired of this. The compositions dulled down, and everything started to lose the excitement that I was feeling. Luckily it recovered in the last track, but it was too little too late. And in an overall, I do feel like this album is one that I will return less than the others by the band, due to the one word that I feel like best suits this album: cloying. This is the King Gizzard equivalent of those American Phair candies that are 90% sugar. That is good in like the first 5 bites, but by the end you're just lying on the floor. Will I return to the songs eventually? For sure, especially the positive highlights. But stuff like LW is still priority to me in their discography. Negative highlight on screen, and the score here is 80%. Here's a fun challenge. Listen to this album, and every time they say the word money, take a shot. Just kidding, don't do that, you're going to die. Honestly, I went into this expecting the worst, and what I got isn't awful, just the most mediocre thing possible. There's no excruciatingly bad moments here. It's all just very vapid. Now that it's over, I can just likely remember the beats of 1 or 2 songs, and that one line about Megan Thee Stallion. If this was an EP, just containing my positive highlights, this would still not be very memorable, but it would be at least a solid, enjoyable listen. But amidst that, we have such a cumbersome amount of filler that feel like huge burdens in this record. The negative highlights are straight up painful to listen, and while the whole album isn't the worst thing I've ever heard, I will most likely never return to it. 47% superb. It might be a short release with a little less than 15 minutes, but oh my god, this thing packed such a powerful punch it gave me an actual bruise. I gotta say, I never heard I Disagree, mostly due to a lack of interest. But after this EP, I'm gonna put that record in my to-listen list. Because holy crap, this is some monstrous stuff. Hearing Yell carries so much energy, I feel like if I played this next to my phone it'd start charging. And not only that, but the compositions are really compelling. But even with my praises, I also must say that Metalcore isn't a genre that totally clicks with me, so it blocked me from totally enjoying this. But still, this might be my favorite release of the genre ever, giving a special shout out to the positive highlights, and a little pat on the shoulder of the negative one. I'm feeling 81% spur for this EP. Gradually, Backxwash's releases have been getting more and more disturbing, and this is easily her most difficult to listen release so far. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's her best. Don't get me wrong, because this is definitely one of her best works. The lyrics hit as hard as a truck, and the beats assault your ears in such a way that it's very pleasant, but at the same time very disturbing. The positive highlights are easily among her best releases so far. At points it's even better than God Has Nothing. Jesus, that Godspeed You Black Emperor sample in the final track is just the cream of the crop. But we also have the negative one, that in my view drags this record down a little. I am super excited to see what she holds for us in the future. If it's more stuff like this, I'm the first in line. 86%. This album is one of those that I get the appeal, it does sound good to me, yet there's just something missing that blocks it from reaching that next level status that I'm looking for. It's a really bright indie pop record, with some really sweet vocals, interesting songwriting, and really good compositions that occasionally blend in elements of rock. Listening to this while running through a field of flowers must feel magical. I just don't know exactly what it is, but to me the album was constantly feeling like something was missing. It's honestly a shame that that's the case, because all songs in here are great. The fact there is no negative highlights in here tell that. For sure I have a desire to return to this album more. Hopefully in future listens it will click perfectly with me. Still can recognize it's a great record. Positive highlights, score of 85% spur. Even though I've always knew about synthwave, I never really dug deep into the genre. I only knew a few songs and that was pretty much it. So I seized that this new Perturbator album just came out to get myself to understand more of the genre. Oh my god, I can't believe I slept on this for so long. I regret all my life decisions. I absolutely adore the experience of listening to this record. It's a very vigorous, powerful release that makes me want to go driving around town at night. But I won't do that because I'd get some brutal speeding bills. This if I even make it alive to begin with. Tour de force compositions and amazing production carry this record to higher levels. And even if we do have some lackluster moments, I don't have any problems with those. Because this record seriously opened my eyes towards the genre. I will definitely check more albums like this in the near future. Oh, by the way, this is the album of the month, with the following positive highlights and a sole negative highlights. And for the score of this record, 88%. I don't really have a problem with bands that all songs sound the same. I like AC/DC, I like Motorhead, and I like Rise Against. So you all know where this is going. This is Rise Against. You already know how this album sounds, so for the compositions, I can say that they're definitely better than the material of some of their previous works. Especially the positive highlights, but it still could be more interesting at some points. If you like Rise Against like me, you'll like this. There isn't much else to say here. Negative highlights, 70%. I gotta say, while I don't think this is their best record, it gives me even more reasons to believe Vokonis is one of the best modern stoner metal bands. This album packs a whole lot of punch, with some really hooking riffs, intense song progressions, and some of the most powerful songs of their discography. Positive highlights. And while it gets a bit duller in the second half, it's still averaging the very good side of things. I mean, even the negative highlight is a song that I gladly return to. It's also heavier than its predecessor, which to some might be a point in favor. I do prefer how more balanced with a less dense production the songs of Grasping Time feel, but I still heavily recommend this album. 40 minutes well spent if you are into this kind of music. On screen, the score, 84% support for this album. This is one easy record to forget. No, for real. I can't remember anything about it besides the positive highlights. Super generic stuff. At least Doja has some nice vocals, even if I'm not a big fan of her rapping. I only remember the negative highlights because I wrote it down while listening. Bland production, bland songwriting, the song Payday has a cool beat, but the hook is just horrendous. The score is only in the positive spectrum because at least Doja herself seems to be into what she's doing here. But overall, this record is just a big oof. And to be real, I'm upset because I really wanted to like this album. 51%.
No pain. Mild, moderate, severe, very severe.
I've stumbled across some incredibly wallpaper albums this month, but my god, this is easily the most aggravating example of this. I had really high hopes for Liz Phair's comeback, considering she took a really long break after the septic tank her last album was. But at least we could say Fun's style was incredibly audacious, even if for all the wrong reasons. This new record here is just straight up boring. The lyrics are good, but they aren't carried song good, and the instrumentals are just the most safe, uninteresting, middle-of-the-road a human being could ever conceive. The positive highlights are at least songs that I thought were pretty enjoyable. And the best track stands out because it at least made me giggle with the lyrics. And the negatives just sort of exist in a worse way than the other songs. I was going to give this record a 50% score, but since I was legit looking forward into this, it lost a few points out of sheer disappointment. Therefore, it's now 38%. Collage of the month. Collage of the month. Just top 4 are here at the collage of the month. Yeah, I guess this is better without a jingle.